Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. How you doing? This is Eric, and again, our brother Timothy is not with us this evening. Um, his father has died, so everybody keep brother Timothy and his family in prayer as they wrap up arrangements for his father. And thank you all for remembering this dear family in your prayers. We all need strength at times, don't we? We all need one another. Kind of reminds me of the old tune, I get by with a little help from my friends. And isn't that truth? We get by with a little help from Jesus. We get by with a little help from one another. And that's what this life is all about. Helping each other, leaning on our God, whom we can depend on to get us through anything and everything. The God that we can depend on to change the persons that we are into the persons that He would want us to be, the persons that He would be proud for us to be, proud that we would represent Him in such a way. That's what this life is all about, my friends. Let's get it right. So I want to welcome you today. God bless you all. God bless anybody who may listen to this. We're going to have an open discussion today. Feel free to come on up. Feel free to make this your own. Feel free to make this your home. Come on up and speak your heart. Uh, Whatever your heart may be, speak your heart. Whatever discussion you would like to head into, bring it up. Wherever you think God would have you to take this today, by all means, take it. This is a place where you can speak your heart, speak your feelings, whatever you want to do. If you want to talk doctrine, I'll give it a go. If you want to test your doctrine against the scriptures, you got any ideas? Well, there's nothing wrong with exploring them, is there? We can explore them here. And you can explore your doctrines here with no fear. That's what we do. Uh, we subject ourselves to one another. And we teach one another. And we teach it compared to the scripture, the Bible, the Word of God. We give that the credence down here. We give that the heavy weights. It is the weightier matter of the law, the scriptures. What do they say? What did God give us? That's what we're supposed to be coming to out around here. What did God give us? What did God say? I don't hear that said enough. I don't hear that asked enough. What did God say about this? Let's check it out and let's see. So, if you want to come on up, feel free, make yourself at home, and we can talk about anything that you'd like to talk about. And while we're waiting, um, let me say I saw Brother Jamie, and I love Brother Jamie. I don't care that he's a SDA at all. What I care about when it comes to Jamie is what does Jamie teach? What does he preach? These are the things that I care about. And Brother Jamie was here yesterday afternoon, and if you're around, Jamie, come on up. You said that you made an interesting comment. You said that you could show us where the 70th week has already played out. And I just disagree with that, brother. I just disagree with you. It's okay. We're allowed to disagree, right? It doesn't make us enemies or anything. That makes us friends and brothers that love the word of the Lord, and we disagree about a certain part of it. That's all. But I believe I can hold my end of the argument, my end of the discussion, if you would like to have this discussion. And I want to pull up Daniel chapter 5. Unfortunately, I'm using Firefox, and it seems like I can't screen share while I'm using Firefox. And I don't think I can screen share using Safari either. So while I keep trying to work my bugs out on this, I guess I'm just going to read a little bit from Daniel chapter 9. And I'm just going to take it all the way down to verse 25. Daniel 9, 25 through 27. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the covenant commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. My. I when it talks about building the wall even in troublous times, of course, that part was fulfilled before Christ. After 62 weeks, we see that's fulfilled with the death of Christ. Messiah is cut off at that point. That happened 2,000 years ago. And the people of the Prince that shall come to destroy the city and the sanctuary, that's the Roman people. This is this kind of gets its fulfillment partially 2,000 years ago, because they're the people of Rome that surrounded Jerusalem and took it down. But this goes on down through time, doesn't it? The war that it's talking about is at the end. And it's what's left of Rome. And I believe that today is Mystery Babylon, the USA, us who sits on many, many waters. It looks like we are lording over the world right now at the end, just like Rome once did. So, yeah, Rome never fell, guys. Rome came down through history for 2,000 years. You had the Catholics coming down, Rome. When Rome began losing power, Rome, the Caesar's Rome, they began to take power through the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was instituted, I believe, so that they could capture power over the earth and rule the earth through the church. And that happened. We saw a great split. We saw several hundred years where the Catholic Church was kind of the ruling power at the time. And then there came a time when the church split, and you had the Eastern and the Western uh, Rome, Eastern Rome and the Western Rome. And between those two powers, you can say they ruled most of the earth. And through the Holy Roman Empire. And then we split that power up into the small countries that began to take shape and grow in power and grow in a united fashion to back one another. And pretty soon we had all of these powers generating the United States of America, a brand new power. And my goodness, what a rich history we had as the United States of America. It's almost like the powers that be wanted this power here. And I actually think two powers wanted this power here: the Lord, and I think Mystery Babylon wanted this power here. Ancient powers wanted Mystery Babylon here, wanted the United States here, and wanted Rome to tiptoe down to 2,000 years of change as they kept their control over the princes of mankind. So I really love this section right here. Rome never did go away. She just morphed from one power to another, to another, to another, as she kept her reign and kept control over this earth. My. So, what do you think, guys? What do you think? Pardon me while I get a drink here. Ah, good coffee. Good coffee. Thank you, sweetheart. So once again, guys, we've got a link out there. If you'd like to come up, if you'd like to challenge us on anything, if you'd like to discuss anything, if you have a doctrine that you would like to get over or discuss, or whatever the case may be, if you got one you'd like to attack, feel free to come on up. Moderated discussions tonight. It doesn't matter how many people may disagree with whatever we got going on. Everybody will have a chance to say what you want to say today. God willing. And I sure will be glad when our brother Timothy gets back. Because frankly, guys, I don't do a good job carrying this thing all by myself. I just don't. I do much better when I can play off somebody who's smart, like Brother Timothy. Or some of you guys. I do know that I've got some of the best friends out here. very knowledgeable people, for which I'm grateful. You cause me to think. You cause me to put my head to work. You cause me to desire to be responsible. Amen. And I know if I keep on asking, come on, guys, come on, somebody will come up here. I know somebody will. Because I've got some people down here that think. I've got people down here that love to talk Bible. And I'm grateful. I'm just going to fish for you and I'm going to wait for you. As a matter of fact, I got such faith in somebody tonight that I know at the end of the day, somebody's going to say, Eric, I sure am glad you waited for such and such to stand up and start talking today. I feel blessed. I'm going to say, you know what? I feel blessed too. So I'm going to sit here with my little dog, Malachi, and my little wife is sleeping. And my little dog is sitting here hopeful with me. He's sitting here in hope with me. We're going to hear something good tonight, Malachi. What do you think, buddy? Ruff, ruff. Yeah, he agrees. Okay. I've done put my dog to sleep. I'm not going to lie about it. uh, gosh, yes. But he's like me. He lives for the excitement. He lives for the Word of God. Amen. So we've got this open line. You can feel free to come up. You can make this conversation about you. If you're agnostic, if you're atheist, you can come up here and tell us why you are. You can come up and tell us we're losers if you like, and I'll even let you go on to try to prove your point. And we'll see where that goes. That's okay. I do love talking to atheists. I do love talking to agnostics. What do you believe? Well, I don't know. That's not a very strong position, but it's a position I can respect. What is out there? Well, if you're walking in a little bit of confusion, it is hard to know what's out there. On the other hand, if we observe, it becomes a little easier to see what our possibilities are. What do you want to believe? Do you want to believe there's a God? Do you want to believe there is no God? Do you want to believe that there's things out there that God is going to hold us to? Do you think that God Himself has given us enough that He can look and He can see what we all should know? Does He think His message is loud and clear enough? I think He does. I think that the problem with God today for some people is that God seems too intrusive on them. God does expect certain things out of us. Well, I mean, think about this for a minute. You're born into a family, And after a while, you see your mom and dad do what they can do to raise you, and then they begin to have expectations from you. They have expectations as you grow older that you will become more responsible, that you'll learn how to work, you will learn about what needs to be done in your particular household. And you'll begin seeing the things that you can do and areas that you can take up the slack. They want you to see that. So if our own parents begin to have expectations from us and would like a little bit of our respect and would like a little bit for us to kick in and help do things around the house, why would you expect God to be any different? Why do you think God would not want you to reflect His morals? The morals that He made you aware of. You know, like we can look around. I think everybody would agree. It's good that we don't murder. Who do you think put this knowledge into you? Into the whole world, the hearts of everybody on earth. Now, some people don't keep that. I'll grant you that. That's true. But some people have bent over backwards to turn themselves into dirtballs. I use that phrase lovingly, by the way. I myself was a dirtball. And I see Will Freeman. Hold on, Will. How you doing, Will?
I won't complain, Eric. How's my sound?
You're sounding pretty good. Sounding pretty good.
Okay, if it's a little loud, you can adjust it in the settings.
Actually, I think I'm gonna turn you up a little bit here. Uh, that's okay. That's okay. I think you're okay.
All right.
So what you been up to, Will? Talk to us.
Working a lot. I'm sure
Yeah?
you heard about Midnight Sparkle, so we've been mourning his loss.
No, no. I heard something like that. I don't believe I know that person. I'm very sorry to hear that, though. Uh,
Yeah, it's part of life.
would you like to memorialize them a little bit here and tell a little bit about them and
Well, Sparkle was a sweet soul, and we're gonna miss him a lot. There will be some sort of memorial. We're not ready to do anything yet. We're still gathering our best Sparkle stories.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm truly sorry. I'm sorry that I can't really add to it since I don't know this person. But I saw the name mentioned earlier today, and I am sorry for your loss. Were they very
Don't
close
worry
friends?
about it.
Were they
Yes,
close?
we were pretty close. He was a very supportive member for a lot of people, Christian and agnostic.
Was he himself an agnostic?
I couldn't say what his religious leanings were. We never made it a big deal. I think he was very open to whatever the possibilities were.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Maybe it's hard to say what might have happened with this person. I you know I try not to judge things, but I do have hope. Uh, and I've got a suspicion too. The Lord said something that I think is a key to this. He said that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be surprised that they even made it, and they're gonna look at their rewards and they're going to say, "How did I make it, Lord?" And He says, when you saw me hungering and thirsting and lonely and alone and imprisoned, You came to visit me, and you fed me, and you talked to me, and you spent time with me, and I mattered to you. And they're going to ask him, Lord, when did I see you in that condition? And he's going to say, when you did this to the least of my brethren, you did it to me. And then there's going to be a bunch of people that they're going to say, well, Lord, I did this in your name. I sang in your name. I prophesied in your name. I did all these wonderful things, gave all this money in your name. And, the Lord said, well, no, you did it in your name. And, when you saw me hungry, you didn't feed me. You didn't go visit me when I was in prison. You just kind of snapped on me and let me alone. And those people ended up in hell. So you've got all kinds of church people that are thinking they're going to make it. And then you've got all kinds of persons, probably on the street even, that don't know in their last few minutes. They're just going to look to the Lord and they're going to say, remember me, Lord. Have mercy on me. And I believe he's going to. So we're going to be surprised to see a lot of people up there, I think, that we never expected. And on the other hand, we're going to see a lot of people not there that we would have expected. I don't think you're going to find very many of the, what's his name, Holstein, Joel Osteen. I don't think you're going to find many of his kind up there. I really don't. Most of our preachers, unfortunately, Will Freeman, most of our preachers and teachers are part of the reason that the church has fallen away. So the thing that I do find fascinating about this is that at least God told the truth. And now we see it. Now we see it. So I have hope for your friend.
Well, that's good. You were wanting to speak to agnostics or atheists?
Yeah. So,
Well, I'm an agnostic.
okay. I didn't really consider you an agnostic. I thought you were more like somebody that believed in deities, but you were very angry at the Christian deity.
Angry at the Christian deity?
Yeah, or is that too soft?
Disillusioned about the Christian deity, I would say. But agnosticism is just an admission of not knowing. And because I consider knowing a very specific thing, I can only claim to not know.
And we have an Eastern Thomist here. How you doing, Eastern Thomist?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing fine. Okay, Will Freeman, we can talk about your agnosticism a little bit. Exactly what are you looking for? Let me start with that. When it comes to a God, what are you looking for?
Evidence.
Evidence. Well, that's an interesting thought. Um, Physical evidence, scientific evidence.
I guess it depends on the claims about the God.
Well, I've got an interesting thought. If I were looking for evidence, I've thought about the evidence that God has given us right there in Genesis, Genesis chapter 1. Something interesting that I've found, and you can disagree with this if you like, but all my life I've heard the scientific community and the atheistic community side of this scientific community. I've heard them talk about all this evidence that they have for everything that they believe. Um, and I've seen them claim scientific superiority. And quite honestly, they had me fooled for a while there. I believed it. I believe that they did have all of this evidence and stuff. And then I seen that they didn't have any at all. Let me explain what I mean. Um, there's scientific method. You make your observation, you develop your hypothesis, and then you run about testing that hypothesis. And they know this, and they pretend like they've done this, but they haven't. They're lying to you when they tell you they've done this.
Eric,
Yeah.
if I could stop you, I'm aware of the people that you're talking about, but those people are not me, and I don't have any faith in evolution.
Well, yeah. But what I want to show you is the flip side of this. What they say, you know what they say about evolution, and you know that it's all untrue. Not every fossil is a transitional fossil. All they've done is look at these bones and say, well, it resembles this and it resembles this, so we're going to put it right in between there and say that it is right in between, like a theropod dinosaur and a modern bird. We'll call it something weird, and that's what they do. They just look at it, and then they put it on a chart, and then they don't do a thing to test it because they don't have the DNA to test it with. And then when people find out they don't have the DNA to test it with, they start crying foul, saying, well, how can we have 5 million-year-old DNA or 100 million-year-old DNA? And that's exactly the point. You can't. So it's an unverifiable hypothesis. It's not even science. Now, on the other side, you have God calling it right. What do we observe? We observe that everything brings forth after its own kind. That's exactly what God said he would do. He was going to he brought everything forth after its own kind. And he said, you're going to bring forth after its own kind. So through observation, we see that from the beginning of time, everything that lives is brought forth by a living being, a living entity. Nothing is just brought forth by accident through science, through some scientific means. It just doesn't happen that way. We've never seen a single cell develop itself. Never.
Eric, I don't know that this addresses my agnosticism in any way.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, I just did.
I don't want to be disrespectful. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I understand who you're talking about and to, but it's not me.
Oh, that's cool. I did just want to give you at least that much, though, to say
Well, I
that.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. I don't trust the evolutionists either.
Yeah, but it's fair to say, I think. Well, let me ask you: do you think it's fair to say that with what God has given us, that does fit observation?
You sort of wrap the conclusion up in the question. If I answer that question, it would be acknowledging that the God that you propose is the one that I accept.
Well, not necessarily accept, but uh, accept the point that he does make a point. And so far, that
I'll tell you what I see, Eric. I see the Fibonacci sequence. The
yeah.
Fibonacci sequence gives me an idea that there's intelligence involved. That does not designate one God or another. It just suggests that there's a pattern or a code or intelligence behind the organization.
Well, we can try to. I'll tell you what. I'll be fair with you, and I'll try to come up with another way to do this, and let you put it to work. But I might need another day to do that.
Okay.
Of course, I don't think. Let me tell you what else I don't think would work. I could sit down and tell you about all kinds of crazy things, man, that have really happened in my life. Real miracles of God that I've seen over and over and over and over. And, you know, one of two things might happen. You can walk away thinking I'm crazy. You could walk away thinking I'm a liar. Or you could just walk away still angry with God, or whatever the case may be.
You jump to that very readily, that I have an axe to grind with the God. And I think what you're actually expressing is that I challenge the testimonies of the Bible, and that's what I have. And I'll agree that I have a rejection of those things.
Yeah. Do you believe those things can't happen?
Are you talking about miracles?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I believe in miracles just on the basis that right now you and I are proof that the universe is thinking.
We're proof that the universe is what?
Thinking, processing data. We are. There's no reason for us to be alive and thinking and aware, but here we are, a piece of the universe that is cognizant and self-aware and thinking and reasoning. That by itself is a miracle.
I would agree. I would agree. And do you think that that would dictate a God?
I don't know that it necessitates a God or not, just some sort of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it depends on how you would define what a God is.
Me personally, I would define a God as the one that was capable of putting all of this together, bringing all of this forth, and capable of opening up a dialogue between himself and his creation.
Okay.
I would
Well,
define
I'll grant
God
you that.
as being itself.
God is a being himself.
Well, he is being itself, not just a being, but being itself. I know St. Thomas Aquinas writes that God, he basically writes his fourth proof of the existence of God is gradations of being, which basically says that because we can see goodness or because we can detect similitudes of goodness in certain creatures, that must mean anything that exists in similitudes must proceed from something that possesses that substance supremely, and he says that supreme good is God, intelligibly. And he says that God is divinely simple, which means that God's essence is no different from his existence. So all of his qualities, like his love, his will, are no different from who he is. Whereas you and I, the fact that we love, the fact that we have a will, is different from who we are. With God, it's not that, because God is not contingent.
In other words, I think what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe what you're saying is you can't pass on a quality that you don't possess.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
for any quality that exists in similitudes must come from some, source that contains it supremely or is that supremely. So, for example, goodness itself or justice itself could not exist if there wasn't a supreme source of that goodness. It's not this arbitrary thing that just exists. It's an ontological quality. And if it's an ontological quality, then it must proceed from something that either possesses it supremely or is it supremely.
Does that apply to evil as well and equally?
Well, so St. Thomas would say that evil is a deprivation of good. So in the same way that hunger is a deprivation of being fed, hunger is not like a quality distinct from being fed. It's something that is a deprivation of being fed. He would say that evil is the extreme lack of goodness in an object.
Where does lack come from?
Sorry, what was the question?
Where does lack, L-A-C-K, where does lack come from?
Well, lack comes from a deprivation of the object.
Okay, let me rephrase then. Who is depriving us, or what is depriving us from these things?
Well, the only thing that would deprive us, or the only thing that allows for the potency of deprivation, would be the fact that we are distinct from God. The fact that, we don't believe in a pantheistic reality where everybody is God and everything is God. Ultimately, God is distinct from his creation. God creates his creation in his image, but he's still distinct from his creation. He isn't
Well,
his creation.
what material, if he was the source being for all things, did he create out of, if not from himself?
I'm sorry. I'm having a bit of trouble hearing you. Can you
Oh, I'm
repeat that
sorry.
question?
What I said was, and I'm sorry for the sound
That's okay.
quality. But if God is the source being and created everything, and there was nothing but God at some point, then
Mhm.
it would stand to reason that everything that was created out of the God Himself as the substance.
No, not necessarily. I mean, God can create matter that is distinct from Himself.
Out of what
Um,
material? I mean, matter,
well,
if there's nothing but God, follow me here. If there's ever a time that God was the only thing, that means everything that proceeded from him comes from the only material that is, or the only substance, which is God.
God can create material that is distinct from His own essence because of
How?
His because of His supreme perfection.
So he can create something that is outside of himself, that is separate from himself, that he has
He
uh,
can create something distinct from
liberated from
himself.
himself.
Yes, he can create something distinct from himself because ultimately he creates the laws of nature.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, I think that we see that play out when you have God creating heavenly things. For instance, you notice He has a heavenly host before He has an earthly host, and this heavenly host apparently is not made out of the same things that humans are made of, um, because we don't even see each other on the same level. I kind of suspect that angels and demons and etc. are interdimensional beings. Uh, in other words, they develop and live on a different plane that we do. But it's the same Earth. I think it's the same Earth, and they exist during the same times. But we don't see them because they're at a higher vibration than we are, uh, and they they apparently God can get around this because He's seen to it that there is a way that we can spy at them and they can spy at us. They can see us, and God can open our eyes to them, and we can see them uh, in their realm. But yeah, this
But they didn't come from him because a lot of them are evil, the ones that fell. I'm trying to find out what the source of evil is.
well, the source of evil is free will.
Well, I mean, Orthodox, I don't know your name, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not Orthodox, Eastern Thomas. He implied there was a different explanation, a lack or a deprivation of goodness. And so I'm wondering, with an all good God that is omnipresent, where could there possibly be a lack of goodness?
Well, I would just disagree with them. In my opinion, uh, we had the problem with evil before there was mankind. We have the fall of Satan, the rebellion of Satan, apparently before Adam and Eve. Because by the time they come around, there he is in the garden already awaiting them.
Did you see somewhere in Genesis where it said that that Satan, the deceiver or the adversary, was in the garden, or did it just say serpent?
Well, it says the serpent was,
So where did you get the idea that that is Satan?
it's in the Hebrew language. There's
It doesn't say
Nakash.
Nakash. Okay,
What?
that's the
Yeah,
serpent.
yeah.
It just
Yeah.
means serpent. It does not. It does not indicate Satan. Is there something about his behavior that would make you think
Well,
that it's Satan?
there's all kinds of things about the Hebrew word itself that implies evil.
Well, when we say evil, when you look at the serpent in the garden, could you point to a place where he was deceiving or evil?
Well, it's the word itself. You'd have to do a word study, which I've followed the word study before. With I'll tell you who gives a good word study on this was what's his name? Gosh, he just died not too long ago too.
Well, I mean, it's still, if we're going to superimpose the name Satan over the word serpent, then I need to know how the connection is being made in order for me to accept that
Well,
that's true.
I think Satan is kind of a misunderstood anyway. Satan isn't a personal name. It's a designation, and it just means the adversary. Hasatan.
Okay, so who in the garden was the Satan adversarial to?
Well, of course, he's adversarial to God. You know, he would be adversarial to Adam, to Eve.
Okay, well, I don't know that I can see where he's adversarial to God. I can see that. As far as Adam and Eve, where do you see that he's adversarial to
Well,
them?
let me explain something to you. This might help you come up with a better question. This is what I believe. Okay, I believe that God had a very specific reason for creating the human race, and that is that after so long a period of time, God wanted a family. God wanted real company. God wanted people that could honestly make the choice to love him, to appreciate him, to view him as he is, and to give themselves to him and to seek him out. You know, want this friendship, want this love bond. I believe that that's what he wanted. He wanted people to make up their own mind. Because the love that's forced isn't a love at all, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but is there a verse that you're citing there? Because it seems like this is an interpretation and subjective on your part. Is there a scripture that backs up?
Yeah, there's all kinds of them. There's all
In
kinds of
Genesis, is that supported?
there's so many scriptures that I base this on. Yes.
Well, I'd like to just focus on the
whole-
ones you were mentioning in
Well,
Genesis, if you
I
could, because
I would
there
like to
seems to be entrapment involved. If you
well,
disagree, tell me why.
I would prefer to just finish first, and then we can take it out somewhere else. But yeah, this is what God wants. Now, what else would a God want? Uh, uh, we were made in His image. Why were we made in His image? We were made in His image. We were made with His potentials because this is what He wants. He wants that to be able to reflect it right back at Him, and we can do that. Okay, so in order to do this, God has to do a few things. In order to give us the potential to come up to Him and choose to love Him, well, we better look at what all of this is going to entail, because this means that God's got to give us an alternate master. Therefore, we have the serpent. God's got to allow us to make the choice, make up our own mind. Are we going to listen to the serpent, or are we going to listen to him? And He's got to give us an equal opportunity to make up our own mind for whom we're going to serve. And it's only by doing all of this, is He freely giving us our own free will. And anything else falls short.
Yeah, and also just to expand a little bit more, to make it a little bit more simple. So God is existence itself. The fact that God exists is no different from who God is, which means that God is existence itself. You and I exist as human beings, but we aren't existence itself, because the fact that we exist is different from who we are. Therefore, that makes us not completely God, because God is supremely good, and that makes us not God. Now, we can participate in God's goodness in a subordinate manner by grace. St. Peter says in the second letter of St. Peter, it says we become partakers in the divine nature, but that doesn't literally make us God. That just makes us like God in an analogous manner by the communication of charity, faith, hope, and charity. And so, because of that, a person that already allows for a quality of a human being that is distinct, that allows him to be deprived of goodness itself, which is God, which is why a deprivation of goodness is possible. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
Well, we were made in God's image, man. We were made in God's image for a reason.
I agree.
Yeah. There's all kinds of passages telling us what God wants us to do. And, all we need to do is read them and understand them. And then ask ourselves, why does God want us to walk in his image? Look, let's make man in our own image, in our likeness. And then he created us male and female. And he put us together. He put us in a garden. He put us together. And what did he tell us? He told us to dress the garden and to keep it and to subdue the earth and to take control over it. In other words, he gave the earth to us. And he told him, you can partake of any of these trees except for this one right here. And so Adam and Eve had the choice. They could have chosen to obey God. But then along comes Satan and tells them a different story. And they dropped what God told them to take what Satan gave them. And they just believed him, or at least Eve did. We're told that Eve was seduced. Not Adam, it was Eve that was seduced.
Yeah.
So we see that Eve is seduced, and she she makes a very bad choice. She chooses to reject what God gave her. She could have partaken of the tree of life. And man, I guess she would have been heralded a queen for that, but that would have failed in giving God what he wanted in this too. So that didn't happen. God gave us the earth in the way that he gave it, knowing what she would do, knowing that she would fail, but knowing that that would secure her free will, and knowing that that would secure his death in this at the same way. But his death secures what? Our freedom. The death of God is the thing that corrects all of this. And that's what so many people fail to see. That God chose to do all of this, knowing that he was going to have to die for allowing us to have our free will. In other words, he's dying on the cross to give you and I the choice of whom we're going to serve, William.
The choice to believe, because you don't choose what you believe, Eric.
Well, of course you do.
No, sir, you don't. You're convinced by evidence.
Well, yeah. And you choose to go with that choice, though, or you don't.
Right. I make my choices based on what's convincing, and evidence is convincing. So we're at a stalemate.
Well, you say it's a stalemate. I don't believe it is.
Do you think that you can choose to believe anything that you want, Eric?
Dude, I choose what's sensible to believe.
If I told you that I hatched a purple Easter egg this morning, Would you believe that I laid and hatched an Easter egg?
Probably not, but you're not the Bible either.
Well, I know I'm not the Bible, but
There you
I'm a
go.
man,
But
and a
you see,
man wrote.
I
Men
have
wrote the Bible. How well do you know them?
I have experience with the Bible. I
Right,
have
it's a book. I'm asking you, do you have any experience with the authors?
I have experience. Yes, I do. I have experience with the book itself too, and I know that it's given me truth all the way through. I
You
can't
believe
find.
that?
I know that.
Now, how would you establish knowledge of that?
Well, for one thing, it's helped me to establish the knowledge that everything they fed you in science class was a lie, and uh, and it's
Oh.
actually better reflected in the scriptures. That's where we find the truth.
So you're convinced about the science contained in the scriptures rather than anything else?
That's not what I said at all, is it?
Right, I'm asking
Uh,
for something convincing.
well, I don't care what convinces you, Will. I know what convinces me.
Okay.
Okay. So these are things that I'm convinced by. Now, if you walked up to a light switch 99 times and flipped that switch and 99 times that light came on, are you going to worry about the 100th time that you walk up to that switch? Or are you just
No, but
going
I've been around, I'm from the South, Eric. I've been around snakes all my life and never had one talk to me. And we were just talking about Genesis, so I can't relate.
to, well, if you knew the nuances nuances of the word that you're talking about, you wouldn't. Because it means a lot more than that. It also means shining one. It means snake. It means shining
That's
one.
what serpent means.
It also has a side meaning that's similar to the seraphim, a shiny being with wings. It means all of these things.
So everywhere it mentions the word Nakash in the Bible, I should substitute cherubim or seraphim.
No, you use it uh, according to the context.
Well,
It's
why
like
would I
it's like
question
anything else. Well,
why would I question whether the serpent can talk when later on Balaam has a talking donkey?
or why would you say that's impossible?
Well, are we saying that donkeys are somehow represented as one of the angelic hosts or something other than what it actually is reported to be in the text?
Why would you say it's impossible? I don't understand.
Well, okay, it's not possible. It's just that I've never heard a donkey talk, and I've been around them before too. And I wouldn't, if it's saying a literal donkey is talking, why wouldn't I think that a literal serpent is talking in Genesis?
Have you heard of talking apes?
Yeah, us.
No, I mean literal talking apes.
Yes, us primates that speak.
No, no, no. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about gorillas, apes.
Or you mean like sign language?
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that Balaam was watching his donkey do sign language?
No, I'm suggesting no such thing. I'm asking why you
Well, so
don't
then how
believe
does that
something.
relate to the story of Balaam and
I'm
the
asking
donkey
why you
talking
don't
over him?
believe something like that could happen.
Because I've never seen an animal talk.
So, are you saying that if you can't see it happen, it didn't happen?
If no one's ever seen it happen, then yes, I'm saying it is improbable.
Are you saying if you've never seen it happen?
Yeah, I'm saying if I've never seen any animals speak audibly and in my own language that I can understand it, then I'm not inclined to believe that
Because
they've ever done so.
you see, according to the Bible, other people have.
Yes,
So,
but I mean
yeah.
that's why I question the authors because they
Mhm.
apparently believe that not only a donkey can talk but speaks Hebrew, which is not something that with their mouth parts they could do effectively.
Well, you see, I've seen enough of God to know that anything is possible. I've seen
Well, then the
God.
evidence is not necessary. You'll just believe
I,
whatever you're told.
well, I've been on the deathbed. I can tell you at least 5 times, and I've seen God lift me up off it all 5 times.
Well, if he could just
I've
do that for everyone.
I was given the diagnosis of leukemia when I was 2 years old, and when I was 2 years old, it was removed from my body. Uh, I don't know what happened, except it just happened through prayer. Uh, so many things in my life, dude, that I've prayed for God and I've seen miracles. Uh, you know, you couldn't create a doubt in me because God has been so faithful to His word. I've asked things of God, and He's given me more than I've asked for.
I'm not doubting that you've had profit in your life, that things haven't gone well for you. I'm not saying that you haven't recovered from some staggering illnesses. I'm just saying you might be leaping to the conclusion that Yahweh had something to do with it.
Well, yeah, Yahweh did have something to do with it. You know, I have a relationship with Him, Will. Now, listen to me. How long did you walk with God?
Do you mean how long did I believe?
How long did you walk with God?
See, you reframe the question. If you're saying how long did I walk with God, apparently as long as I've existed, since He's omnipresent.
Well, how long did you walk with God? You know,
For eternity, Eric.
for eternity.
Yes, our friend was just pointing out that God being eternal, He is existence, and existence has always been. So, as long as I've been an idea in the eternal God's mind, then I've been with God.
Do you consider rebellion walking with God?
I don't know. Are you accusing me of rebellion?
Well, are you in fellowship with God or in rebellion against Him?
I couldn't help but be in fellowship with God if He's omnipresent, Eric.
Well, that's not true. You
We're
claim that He
sharing
doesn't
the same
exist.
body.
You claim that He doesn't exist. How is that walking
No,
in
I said
fellowship?
Yahweh doesn't. I said that Yahweh doesn't exist.
Well, let's not play games, Will. I'm
I'm
not playing
not.
games with
I'm
you.
being very specific about which God I say I don't believe in, and which
I'm
God I
not
do.
playing games with you. I'm being very sincere.
I'm not playing games either.
Well, how can you say you're walking with God if you're walking in rebellion?
Because I believe that whatever the God is omnipresent. It's everywhere. It's everything that
That
we
doesn't
are.
mean that doesn't mean that you're walking with Him.
Well, you're right, because if he's omnipresent, he can't move anywhere. So he's not actually walking. I'm walking within him.
Jesus is not omnipresent.
I wasn't talking about Jesus at all. He
Well,
has nothing to do with the
Jesus.
God.
Well, of course He does. He's part of God.
No.
Well, yes.
No, now you're smuggling in the illogical idea of a Trinity.
No, it's not an illogical idea. He is a Trinity.
Okay,
Did
so
you not see?
is
Will?
is he one God or is he three gods?
There's one God. But did you not
So
read? Did you not
how?
read? Did you not read that when Yahweh went to see Abraham
Uh-huh.
and he bargained with Abraham over Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah.
Okay. And then he walks to Sodom. The two angels go into Sodom. And Yahweh is standing. This is Jesus.
It's
Yahweh,
not. It doesn't say it's Jesus.
of course it is.
It doesn't
Yahweh,
say that.
Yahweh is standing outside of Sodom. And he's hollering up into the heavens to the Yahweh that's in heaven. And he
He's talking to
calls,
himself.
hey, that's the way it's worded. And the Yahweh standing outside of Sodom and Gomorrah calls down fire from the Yahweh in heaven. And the
That's two.
Yahweh in heaven sends it. And that's exactly the way it's worded in the scriptures. But
So it's the duality. It's not a trinity. It's a duality.
well, then you have the Holy Spirit. That's all you need to add to him.
Where do we have that in that? I mean, are they separate there? Did the Holy Spirit leave early for lunch?
If you want to see the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit together, read Matthew chapter 3 when they're at the baptism. And there you have Jesus being baptized.
You're still talking.
There you have.
You're moving it. You're moving it from Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'd like to focus on what you said before you shuffle the deck again.
There you have Jesus being baptized, and there you have the Spirit descending like a dove and lighting on his shoulder, and there you have the Father speaking up, booming, and saying, "This is my beloved Son. Hear him." So there you go.
Well, I mean, there you went.
And then there's all kinds of places in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's our baptism. You know, so
I understand what you believe, Eric. I just don't see any evidence for it.
well, that's because you don't believe the Bible.
Correct. I have many
Okay.
reasons not to believe the Bible.
No, you don't.
I just said I did.
Well, you tell us you don't, but then when I look at your excuses, I don't see any good reason to not believe the Bible.
I don't ever expect you to understand my excuses. I'm just polite enough to give them to you.
Well, then understand I'm polite enough to give you my answers, and I don't expect you to understand them.
Good, good.
Okay. So there you go. I've been to that light switch enough times to know that when I walk to it, the light's going to turn on.
So I should just take your word for it based on your personal anecdotes?
Well, you should, but that's
No,
okay.
that would be very, very frivolous. I'm not that kind of person.
I don't think so. What made
Well,
you walk
I
away?
have doubts. I can't ignore the doubts. I
What
don't
made
know
you
you
walk?
well enough to trust
What,
you.
what made you walk away? Well,
Lack of evidence to support the things that I believed wholeheartedly.
and what are those things that you believed wholeheartedly?
Well, we could start with the resurrection if you'd like.
Go ahead.
The main thing, though, I'd say was a lack of, hold on. I'd say is a lack of evidence that any messianic prophecies were completed or completely fulfilled accurately.
You what now?
I said, give me just a second, let me turn this down. I said that a lot of it comes from all the messianic prophecies failing to be completed accurately and completely by Jesus during his time here. So there was no reason for me to continue to pretend that Jesus had fulfilled those things. There was no evidence that he ever did.
You were a Christian for 20 years?
Longer.
Longer? How long?
Does that matter?
Yeah. How long were you a Christian?
I said longer than 20 years.
Yeah. How much longer? I'm just curious.
As long as I was. It's hard to say at the end whether you would call me a Christian or not.
Okay. What made you fall?
I told you before that it was Plato's allegory of the cave causing me to think critically about what I held just on faith. And then when I noticed that Jesus didn't fulfill any of the messianic prophecies and that the things and the claims made about Yahweh are contradicted within the Bible itself, then I had to step away. It would have been illogical for me to continue to try and hold on to something that I couldn't even begin to evidence.
So what did he not fulfill?
What did who? Oh, I thought you said what did Enoch fulfill? What did Jesus not fulfill?
Sure.
Well, the most recent thing that I talked about was Jill's suggestion that Micah 5 was about Jesus.
What?
Micah, it's a book in the Bible, and the chapter would be 5. He suggested that that was a messianic prophecy about Jesus, and I had to show him that it wasn't.
So what did he not fulfill? That's not telling me anything.
Oh,
I
well,
happen to know the
he
prophecy.
never sat on the throne of Israel, and he never defended Israel against Assyrians.
Oh. Well,
You'll find that in Micah 5.
That's yet to come.
No, there's no more Assyrians to fight.
Well, sure.
No, it said that he would sit on the throne of David, or he would be the king of Israel, and he never, during his entire lifetime, sat on the throne or was the king of Israel.
Well, he will be.
Well,
Time
that's what I
isn't over
said
yet.
when I said that none of the prophecies were
we have a
completely.
returning.
No, Eric, you're
we have a
ignoring my
returning
thing.
Christ.
Hold on, you're putting it in the future. I said nothing he did on earth was completed. He never completed a prophecy while he was on earth.
Well, that's just not true.
It is. You just said it's a partial prophecy because in the future he's going to finish it.
No, I
But what
said
did he finish
that
when?
one.
What did he finish when he was here,
I said
Eric?
that one is a partial prophecy. Okay.
So give me one that he completed fully.
Well, let's see. 30 pieces of silver. Yeah. Hang on
Go
the
to
cross.
we have to read it in context. You
Is,
can't just say 30 pieces of silver. I need to see what verse you're talking about and read it in context. Otherwise, you're just doing proof text like Jill did. You believe he was born in Bethlehem, right?
Isaiah chapter 53. Who hath believed our report? And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of the dry ground. He has no form nor comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He was taken from prison, from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, because he hath done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many. For he shall hear their iniquities, bear their iniquities. Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. There you go. Fulfilled.
Cool. Now, who was the subject of that?
Fulfilled.
I mean, it says who the subject is.
Yeah, well, you don't have to believe that's the Jesus.
No, I mean, it's not about that. It's about Israel. It's been known for a long time that that's speaking of Israel.
Known by whom?
Yeah, my Jewish counterparts say that crap too, that it was just for the whole land of Israel. So in other
Yeah, what
words,
would they know about their own book,
no,
right?
yeah, look, the whole land of the whole people of Israel should have died then for this, but only one person did. So
That was just one generation.
no, the generation didn't die.
It was
One
about the
person.
Babylonian captivity, as is
The
all
only
of
the only ones that say that about Israel are the Israelis that hate Jesus.
And the only
Well,
ones
that's
that
my
say it's
point.
about Jesus
And
are
that's
Christians
another
that hate
point,
Jews.
too. But I've been sitting here listening to this, and whatever. I mean, look, one thing I've seen about agnostics, two things going on, really. One, now, I haven't heard this out of Will yet, is that they think they have knowledge beyond the Bible. Now, whether Will thinks that or not, I don't know. But the other thing is, they have this real propensity of wanting to be all enigmatic, and there's nothing tangible. So, I mean, if you don't have absolutes, if there's no absolutes, that person is just as guilty as the people who are nothing but absolutes, really. They're just They're about the same type of person, just on the other side of on opposite ends of the arena. So, and not to mention historically, this can all be proven too. I mean, the documents are all there, both in and outside of the canon. I mean, so when you sit there and say about all of Israel, well, then there should be absolutely no scattered people, none. Nobody should have even gotten driven out of Jerusalem in 70 AD, because they all would have been dead meat, according to that scripture, at least the way I've been taught to believe it and have done critical thinking over it. When, Yeshua's time came to fulfill the
Are
spring
you
feast.
assuming, Levi, are you assuming that I believe the Old Testament, that it was
No, I
about,
don't
I
know
mean,
what. No, I didn't say. No. I didn't make that claim. He was talking about Isaiah 53, and you piped up and said that meant for the whole
right.
land of Israel. You're the one
Yeah,
who made the claim, not me.
I'm basing the question on when you guys were, damn, I forgot where I was going with that. Shit.
You didn't make a question of it. You said that was meant for for all of Israel.
Yeah. When you guys said the only people that say that are like Jews that hate Jesus or whatever,
Well, I
you would be
don't know
talking
what
about
they're.
people. Hold on, you would be talking about people that subscribe to the Old Testament, and I don't think any of it is sound. So it's not me you're talking about.
Okay, fine. Then why did you say that was meant for all of Israel? Then you said it like you believed
Just
it.
because no, just because I can read the scholarship on it doesn't mean that I embrace it as being true. It's literary. It's
Okay,
whether we're reading it in
what
context
scholars?
or not.
What scholars are you talking about? Because I can give you other scholars that are like, no, and just comment. You don't have to be a scholar to know that all of the people of Israel. This is just EQ here, common sense. Where if that
Okay.
would have happened, they wouldn't have been around anymore. And they still are. They're scattered. I'm one of them. I'm a Levitical line, evidently.
If it had been true, if it had been true. So there's no reason to think it was true, and there's even less reason to think that Jesus fulfilled any part of it.
Well, you're making a claim right there. There's less reason to think that Jesus didn't. Okay, back that up. Because you're putting a lot of insinuation. You're basically making just as many claims as Eric is, if not more. And you're not substantiating anything. It's nothing personal.
Well,
But
my claim was that Jesus didn't accurately and completely fulfill any of the messianic prophecies.
That's quite a claim.
Yeah, that's quite a claim.
That's quite a claim, and you can't prove any of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can't prove anything to the contrary.
Well, show me one that you can.
Okay. Jesus never sat on the throne of Israel his entire life.
Nobody's returning.
See, so in the future he'll do it, but in the future I might do it. We never know.
Oh, I do know.
The only way I look at that, Eric, no, the spring feasts have been fulfilled. Now, what he's referring to, he may not understand and know this, he will now, is that the fall feasts have not been fulfilled, and part of that is Yeshua coming back. Now, that hasn't happened yet. You said it yourself. However, what you do is you look into the history, and you look into the geography, and you look into the medical/scientific areas that were done in the Old Testament and still can be proven to this day. So it's a track record that's really for the better. Okay, a lot of these things have been fulfilled. So the ones that are not yet I have, from what I can tell, due to that, the history alone, I can pretty much trust that Yeshua will fulfill that one day.
Well, I'll agree with you then. If that happens, I'll be a believer.
Okay. I'm really not trying to convince you. I think you have your mind made up. It wasn't just everyday man, God of Ministries, who was thinking that when he typed in all honesty, do you really want to be convinced? And that's the conclusion I've come to. I don't think you do. And that's fine.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's my opinion too. I don't think you want to be convinced.
Well, I want convincing evidence. I don't want anecdotes or people trying to make something fit that doesn't.
I want to know why you. I want to know why you walked with God for like over 20 years. What had you?
What do you mean?
What did you believe for 20 years? What had you believing?
That's a better question, Eric. What did he really believe for 20 years plus? That'd be my question.
Yeah. What had
Well,
you believing that Jesus was real, that God was real?
my culture and the traditions around it.
You mean you never?
I don't know what your culture and traditions are.
Yeah.
Is that important? I gave you an answer.
No, you're
Come
not
again?
mentioning anything though. You're not giving us anything concrete, any reason to believe. Just
Okay,
like
if I tell you that my culture is why I was there, does it not suggest that I grew up in a Christian culture?
yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe not.
So so maybe not. Oh, fine.
What held you to it?
Well, that's my nice way of saying I don't know. So I don't know what you were raised in. Yeah, I think you said something about Presbyterian, right? So is
No,
that
I've never been Presbyterian. That's one of the
okay?
few
I may have
denominations
been
I didn't look
going.
into.
I was probably going back and forth when I heard you say it, and I didn't hear it right. What denomination were you in?
Well, when I was young, my parents were Baptists, and I was involved in all the children's program, and I accepted Jesus when I was in, I guess, the second grade. Said the magic words, started reading the Bible. Didn't get baptized until much later. I kind of fell away from the church until I was in my early 20s. And then once I got married and had a stepson, I felt that something was pushing me towards the Bible. And I had an experience. But to explain that experience that I had, I went to the Bible. Because culturally, anything that you can't explain, you need to just assume it's Yahweh. And I did for many, many years. And I believed wholeheartedly, but I refused to accept the request for me to think critically about it by my friends and associates and even my adversaries that were atheists. I didn't want to consider it because I wanted to be right. I wanted to believe that I had been given this special knowledge through the church and through the Bible, and they were just too stupid to understand it. But I was wrong, and I was wrong, and I was humiliated many, many times. I was unaware of the humiliation. It wasn't until later that it set in that I was arguing. I was on the wrong side of the argument most of the time.
What church did you go to as an adult after that experience?
I went to several churches. I went to a Baptist church. I went to a Seventh-day Adventist church. I became an open theist. Then I became an agnostic.
Okay, because I don't even know what kind of Baptist I mean, you got the pre-tribulation believers who are once saved, always saved, King James only.
It's one book. It's one book.
One book.
None of the denominations followed the book precisely. They all had their different loopholes on how to get out of doing law and the way they tried to justify their behaviors and ceremonies and stuff. I say ceremonies like holidays and things like that, refusing to admit it was pagan in origin.
Oh, okay, fine, but okay, so they were once saved, always saved. Is that your?
Well, that was Baptist. The Baptists were like, if you say the magic words, like when I was a child, they're like, just say the magic words so you don't go to hell. You know, right. Jesus died for you. And I was moved. I thought, this guy died for me. My first passion play, I wept. Well, I was a child, but I wept. It was inconsolable that my king had died for me.
I don't know. Did you get yourself confused? And
no, I didn't feel confused for the longest time. In fact, I felt very comforted that even if the denominations were wrong in the way they practiced it, that the Bible was inspired by God, and as long as I followed it first, then I didn't have to worry about God's condemnation. I was giving it my all. I mean, my whole heart, and so I just figured that God would know that I was doing the best I could.
And when did all that turn around, Will?
Okay, I'm going to mute, guys, because I'm being rude here because I have my mouth is full of food here. Sorry about that.
Hey, God bless you, brother. Thank you for hanging out with us.
What was your question?
Leaving. I'm not leaving.
Cool.
What was your question, Eric?
Uh, what made you just decide that it was all wrong? And what I guess what
Well,
I
that was a
really want to know,
process.
what made you go from believing it was all right to it was all wrong?
Okay, all right. So I guess that's fair for you to ask. You haven't been in maybe the same part of the community as I have for, I mean, I'm sure you've been around a long time. Do you remember G Plus?
What is it now? G plus?
G Plus, the old days of this community.
No, no.
Okay, so I was this was probably 2014 maybe. I was actually an apologist, and I was in the great debate community arguing for Christianity against atheists for years. And I guess 3 years ago is when I deconstructed. But the insurmountable lack of evidence that I had to bring to these arguments convinced me that it really was a matter of faith, because there was nothing in reality that I could bring to bear as evidence that could be convincing. They couldn't just be completely undermined through a few questions. And eventually I started recognizing that, you know, a track record like this, no matter how eloquently I argued for God, my lack of evidence was the biggest problem I had. And the more I searched for it, the less I could find anything that, if I was intellectually honest, would suggest that I was correct.
Wow, that's so not my experience, man. That's what I find so funny about this, and I'm not making
Well, I mean,
fun.
everyone knows you're better at this than me, I guess.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not making fun of you. I'm not dissing you at all. I'm just saying that is so opposite my experience. Uh, so I have to wonder what's the difference between us. Um,
Eric,
see,
I used to believe that I was winning even when I wasn't, and I think you have a lot of that going on too.
I don't know what you mean by that, but no,
I don't expect you to know what I mean, but
that's
I'm
not it
telling
at
you it's my
all.
opinion. Well, I think
Well,
it is.
well, you're allowed to think that. Well, whatever.
Thank you.
But I won't, tell you what you can or cannot believe. But I have a hard time believing that you're being straight with me, and
Okay.
I'm not trying to pick a fight or anything, but
Have you heard anything to the contrary?
but yeah, I'm hearing a lot of things that I just don't feel the truth in.
Well, that's okay.
So I'll tell you, I don't know what happened to you, Will. I can take your word for some of this stuff.
I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. Nothing happened to me. I practice critical thinking and honest reasoning, Eric.
Something happens to us all the time, Will. We change all the time in certain ways for certain reasons.
Yeah, but it was implied, I think, in the way that you said it, that some event has happened.
Yeah. And I
So
usually find that
what
the
kind of
truth.
event would do that?
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you what I've found with some people. I've got a lot of friends that are or were agnostic or atheist, and some of them I've talked out of it, and some of them I haven't. But some of them I've found they weren't agnostic or atheist at all. They were angry with God, and they were angry with God for specific reasons. I knew this one. I won't mention his name. Probably about everybody here has known this person at one point or another. And he's homosexual, and that's no sweat off my back. I love the fella just the same. I really do. But his deal was he prayed and prayed and prayed that God would uh, remove him from his homosexuality, or remove his homosexuality from him, however you want to word that. And he just never did, and he couldn't understand. And I tried to explain it to him this way: look, I don't have the same problem you got, but I do have one that's just as strong. And that is my attraction to women and trying to keep it all in my pants, and not just let it roll around in my head into whatever I want it to be. I can't do that. Now, if I do that, then even if it's heterosexual, it's a sin. And I'm just as sinful as you are if I indulge mine as if you
Pardon
were
me.
indulging
Pardon me.
yours.
Why did you just imply that I'm sinful?
What's that?
Why did you just imply that I am sinful?
Because we all are.
Okay, so what are my sins?
Dude, they're insurmountable. You can
Well,
trust
just name one that you're fully confident I'm guilty of.
pride.
Pride in what?
Oh, dude, I'm not going to play that game with you.
Well, I mean,
Well,
you made the accusation that I'm a
You
sinner.
Eric,
made me pick one.
Eric, keep in mind though, when he says they're implying these things, he's insinuating or implying that he's the only one who's using real critical thinking skills here to
Oh, okay.
maintain. And so he's just as guilty if you are. I mean, I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just, look, usually when you have a finger pointing out, there's three fingers pointing back. I mean,
That's right.
So, I mean, if you
I
want to
don't
go
remember
from,
accusing anyone of sinning.
well,
For all have
I'm
sinned.
just from what I know, what I've been taught in the scripture, the only sinless one was Yeshua himself. So if he's the
Amen.
only one, it's pretty, to me, concretely in the scriptures that every one
Okay,
of
but
us.
my
So,
question was specific because the accusation was fairly specific. So if I am a sinner, then surely you can name one of the things that you can prove I've sinned doing. You
why
said
Well,
I don't
pride, and
know that.
you said pride, and I'm asking you, what have I shown pride in?
your pride and arrogance against God is one.
My pride and arrogance against God?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a problem with God.
Well, you say Jesus isn't God.
Yeah, well,
Right, he's not.
okay, the way you're coming off here about your critical thinking skills here, how good do you think you really are? I mean,
It's not about we all have critical thinking skills. It's just that when it comes to our Savior and King, we refuse to look at it because we feel like we'd be betraying him if we thought critically about what we're being told about it. Our fealty and loyalty is the greatest prize in God.
maybe you would, Will. Maybe you would.
Yeah, maybe I would.
See,
I
I
don't think
said
we
we're
would.
all okay. Eric and I are saying we're all sinners. Now you just you just implied that we are all what again? I
I
mean,
don't know. What did I imply?
what you just said something about how we all, and I can't remember. You just said it a few seconds ago.
Right. We all, when you're a Christian, when I say we all, I mean as a Christian, when you're a person of faith, especially when you feel gratitude towards your King and Savior, it feels dirty to ever second guess or to imagine that you might not be believing a true thing.
How do you
And
know
we don't want to do that.
How do you know it's dirty, and how do you know I'm doing that?
I didn't say it was dirty. I said it feels dirty.
Or how do you know it feels dirty? I don't feel dirty about any of this.
Well, then I stand corrected just by what you said. I have to agree that not all of us.
And if I second guess there's something, whether that's sinful or not, I don't think I could conclude that with anybody in this panel. I guess I can just point out a couple of prophets who did question things very harshly on God. One was Jeremiah, a major prophet from what I read.
Well,
and another
the thing that I was addressing.
Another is a minor prophet named Habakkuk. So, I don't feel too all alone there.
Well, that's fine. The implication that I was addressing was that I'm a sinner, and I asked for, in what way did I sin?
Well, maybe if we meet one day and get to know each other personally, maybe I'll be able to point that out. I only seen you around online. That's it. So
I will stick.
I've never called you a sinner, Levi. By the way.
Well,
I will stick.
I don't care if you do or not. It's just that if Yeshua is the only sinner, or excuse me, the only person who has never sinned, I'm going to presume that you are a sinner as well as Eric, as well as me and Halsey and Stephen. So,
Well, you made a contingency statement when you said if, and I agree. If that's the case, then sure.
mhm.
And we have Steven Tyler up here with us today. I feel privileged. How you doing?
I'm fine. Did you say Steven Tyler? Because that's not my name.
Yeah, I was kidding around.
He's
I'm
from an
sorry.
era where Aerosmith rocked.
No, they did not. If you want to get into it, they died out in '84. They were never the same band ever again. If I'm going to talk about secular music.
Well, I was just talking about Eric using the reference.
Yeah. Hey, can I just? I don't know you, by the way, Will. Nice to meet you. I'm Steven. First of all, let me be polite and say nice to meet you.
My pleasure.
I have a question for you. I don't know if you agree or disagree with this, and I'm going to ask you this. Do you believe that 98%, and I'm just throwing a number, I'm just using a hypothetical number, of churches of all walks and faith or whatever you want to look at are full of hypocrisy today?
I think humanity is full of hypocrisy.
I'm talking about the church buildings at the moment. I'm not talking about every human being.
Okay, so yeah, I would assume you're talking about Christian churches.
All churches.
So all churches. Okay. No,
I
I think it would.
If you want to stick
Yeah.
to Christian church, that's fine, because I know that's probably really the crux here. So, do you believe? And this is not a. I want to make sure you understand this. I don't like the whole internet garbage of gotcha questions and nonsense. That's just immaturity, and that's children, and they shouldn't even be in dialogue. And I don't mean to be rude, but it's not. I'm not asking you any. Well, I don't believe that I'm asking you any gotcha questions.
Okay, well, you mentioned hypocrisy. Do I think that there's hypocrisy in the churches?
Yeah, do you think? Or I threw a percentage on it. Would you think that the large percentage or the majority of, or do you think the opposite of?
You know, that is a really fascinating question, because when I think about hypocrisy, I guess it depends on how I would apply it. But it's the whole condemn. If I could ask, or if I could answer, I would say that it's the condemnation and the feeling that someone has worked their way into salvation that I think is hypocritical just on its face. Those are the first things that pop into my mind. So based on that, I say that there are a lot of participants in the church that are highly hypocritical and condemning, even though Jesus wasn't.
I believe that you and I have some strains, small strains of same concerns or beliefs at one point in time. That's why I'm in this. I take it different, and I'll be honest. I think Brother Eric is wonderful. I enjoy stuff, but I know that I don't agree with some of the things he's said all the time. Nothing major. Nothing as in like very demonic. I don't mean anything like that. But I would disagree. So I'm not on Eric's side or Levite's side. I'm only on the side of scriptures. But since you're not, I don't think you're able to pinpoint yourself, or you don't want to be, and that is a good subconscious fear to have, of not wanting to be pigeonholed into something. So that's okay. I will go ahead and say to you that as a born again Christian, I believe that 98% are full of hypocrisy. I will tell you that right now. I think every denomination under the sun has a large majority these days of hypocrisy, without a shadow of doubt. Now, I was a Christian. No, I still am. I'm a born again Christian, and I questioned, and I was made to even question it. And I saw hypocrisy, and I did go out on my own and decide, no, I'm going to figure this out. And then, I was originally from New England. So like a fool, I started, hanging out in Cambridge. I don't know if anybody knows anything about Cambridge, Massachusetts. Anyone here really know the history of all that? Probably not.
Nah, okay. I'm on the other side of the Dixie line.
Well, that's where I'm actually currently over the Dixie line now as well. I'm down in Tennessee. So I get to experience both sides of that line, I guess. But yeah, I hung out. I don't know what the Ivy Leagues would be considered down here. That's who I hung out with up there, and really got into the whole idea of Socrates or pre-Socrates, the pre-Socratic era, Plato, Platonics, and all of that stuff, and all of it, just all of it. And I left the church building because I looked around me, and I think Will and maybe others can understand this. You started looking around, going, "Wait, if that's what the Bible says, and you've been teaching it, why am I not seeing you walk it?" Would that be fair to say?
That's really strange that you said that because, yeah, now that you mention it, in the very beginning when I was a Baptist, I might have been the first person in that church's history to get excommunicated for asking questions about the Sabbath and the laws. And after that, I mean, I can relate to that because I kept thinking, bunch of fucking hypocrites, because I asked you a question about God's holy law, and you told everyone in the congregation not to speak to me or my wife or children anymore. So I was, I did feel that they were being hypocrites.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know where they felt that they had that right on just that premise of asking questions. But do understand that all the Baptists are not the same, anyways. Not every strain of Baptist is the same. So you got the free will, but we can go on and on about that. But I get the idea of you leaving or feeling questioning things. I don't know your really the ultimate reason. What was that for? What the first thing you questioned it, because we all have that first thing. We all have that one thing, and it may be a stupid thing to others. It's not stupid to us in that moment. We question it.
Just ask me.
What's that?
Just ask me. I'll tell you what it was over.
Oh, I wasn't trying to, dig in. But I'll ask you then, what was that one thing that you said to yourself, something ain't right, or you felt something wasn't right?
Yeah. So when I was at the Baptist church, I was reading the Bible through for the first time, and I was taking notes and I was writing everything down. And I was fascinated with the law and how often the law is mentioned, even into the New Testament, when Jesus says not one jot would change, right? So I asked them about the Sabbath. I said, I said, he was a decent guy, or it felt like he was. I said, Pastor Dale, I'm just confused about two things. I said, one thing is you preach 9 of the 10 commandments, but you avoid the one about the Sabbath, and it's the only one that says remember. And I said, and the second thing is hell being eternal torment. I said, because that's not what I read when I read it, and I want you to help me understand it. And so he gave me a couple of proof texts, but they didn't support the idea that he was putting forward. And when I pointed that out, he got furious and told me to get out and never come back, take my family and find a different church. He told me I was a Judaizer for suggesting that the Sabbath was Saturday.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. I would also disagree with Saturday. I'm not going to get hung up on it. No, that's not. I think there are a little bit more important things, salvation and so forth. I mean, it's all important. I'm not saying one thing's not important, but I look at a bigger picture of the whole thing. But the whole excommunicating and telling you to get out, which is very odd to me, that you didn't lay down, especially being a pastor. No man should call themselves pastor. But yeah, I'm surprised personally myself. I've never seen that ever happen. Not to say that it never does happen. But
well, to be fair, because it was my first time reading it, I was drawn into legalism because of how important it seemed like the law was to God. And so I wanted to stand for what God was saying was important. And so it may have been me trying to bring in a certain level of legalism into his church that he didn't like.
I would know legalism was fulfilled by the law. Jesus fulfilled the law on legalism.
That's really interesting, Will, because I had a problem with the same thing, but it affected me completely different from the way it's affected you, I guess. What I did, I found a different church. And as a matter of fact, have you ever watched the movie Stripes, where he says, our forefathers have been kicked out of every decent country on the earth. That's kind of how I feel in the spirit here. I've been booted out of just about every denomination you can imagine. And that's okay. That's okay. Why is that okay with me? Because I don't expect these churches today to be preaching the word. I don't expect them to be holding up the word. I expect them to be denying the word. I expect them to be uplifting apostasy, a departure from the faith, doing everything they can do to depart from the faith. You know, if there's a way you want to depart from the faith, there's a church out there doing it right now. That's what we're promised in the last days, that men are going to depart from the faith. That's what they're going to do.
So why all the questions then about where I went to church in the past, how long I was a Christian, my affiliation, if all of the churches are expected to be bass backwards? You know,
Well,
why does it matter what my history is? You already know that it was a bad teaching, whatever I got.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Will. I had the same bad teachings, and it didn't affect me that way.
But
And
remember,
what
Eric, I was
I'm,
reading it for myself at the same time. So I had my own ideas about what the book was saying. And so I could find fault in every denomination. It didn't agree with me.
yeah, well, you know, I was reading too.
The only reason why I would ask, that I even asked, is I just want to know where you're coming from, know your history a little bit. So now, just know where you're coming from, and I can make an assessment there and try to decide how I'm supposed to deal with you in a conversation. That'd be my reason. But
Oh yeah, no, Levite, I wasn't talking about you. I understand that
No, I
you're
know.
getting to know me, but
Yeah.
Eric has asked me in the past, and that's been a big thing because I was a Seventh-day Adventist because I was told I was legalistic. So where's the most legalistic form of Christianity you can find? Seventh-day Adventist. Adventism.
I don't know.
It's pretty rigorous, man.
Westboro is pretty demonically.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if
I'll give you
they're
that one.
I don't know if they're the worst, but there's some really bad ones out. But then again,
Well-
people accuse me of legalism. I'm a Sabbath keeper, so anyway.
Well, and
Oh, that's right. I remember that about you.
I don't hold that against, like Levi. I don't really know you. Nice to meet you, Levi. But I disagree, but agree at the same time. We can get into deeper stuff on it, but I'm not gonna, rake you over the coals over it. You know what I mean? So, but I believe there's an idea of what legalism means. I still want to
Yeah.
go back to something because, and he also said Baptist and this and that. By the way, for the record, I don't really care what denomination came from, and not in a negative way. I don't mean that in a negative way, because a lot of hypocrisy in every church. You mentioned Seventh-day Adventist, which is hilarious. I thought that was a good. I was thinking about something, but I think you mentioned something earlier, Will, about Christmas. I think you said that it was a pagan holiday, correct?
I mean, not just Christmas. I mean, pretty much all of the big holidays are
No,
astrotheological.
all I heard was Christmas. I'm just going. I don't mean that. That's all I heard. Is that you were saying that before, right? And mostly, and Baptists, as you well, or a lot of people know, most Baptists are pretty high on Christmas, correct?
Yes, but I didn't realize
Well-
it was Saturnalia until I went to the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
I'll go ahead and mute, because to me, Christmas should be outlawed like it originally used to be in this nation. So
Levi,
Well,
you
that
actually
doesn't mean
don't
you should mute.
No, you don't even have to mute this, because I would be considered a Baptist. And
well,
hold on, I am firmly against Christmas.
okay,
Firmly.
no, I know some Baptists are. I'm just kind of being
No, I'm just saying,
sarcastically humorous here. My humor sucks,
I
me.
think
It's kind of dry, but
but here's a problem we have is I actually have to defend myself. As I do go to a Baptist church. I have not taken any Baptist confession. Some Baptists get into that nonsense and some don't. So my particular one that I'm going to now, and I've walked out of many a church. As soon as they didn't line up with scripture, I was gone. But the one I'm going to does not celebrate it. It doesn't put Easter eggs and the Easter bunny outside their church.
Oh,
and
good.
things of that nature.
Yes.
They are firmly against that type of behavior. See, Baptists, by the way, before 1868, was
Yeah.
against all of these things.
Well,
so I have
yeah.
to tell people I'm not. Yeah, the first
Yeah, somebody held,
first Christmas tree didn't even show up in a church building until 1868.
Well,
I
if a
mean-
pastor held a Christmas Eve or Christmas Day service, he was arrested and put in jail. The man of the house back then, too, if they had a Christmas tree or anything, they were in big legal trouble in this nation.
Yeah, no, I'm
So-
agreeing with you that was it's a wrong thing, and but it's what do you want when the Roman Catholics take over your country? What are you going to get? But
well, at least you're not saying the Zionistic Jews. Oh, thank God. I don't want to get into that. Never mind, guys.
every side's got their issues. I'm not going to get into the whole Medici, and there was a Jew, there was a banker for the I'm not going all that kind of stuff. Just, let's keep it obvious and simple to me. I mean, we can go in all types of strains in different directions. But yeah, no, I'm firmly against it. And I've had to tell people when I'm against Christmas, I have to say I'm not a JW and I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist, because people have been brainwashed and indoctrinated to believe that somehow the Seventh Day and the JWs have some market on not celebrating Christmas.
Right. Well, I gotta say something. This is for Eric, really. So, Eric, what got me out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is one of your favorite books,
What's that?
the Enoch 1.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Once I read Enoch 1, I was like, wow, this just paints a totally different overlay for the Old Testament and the giants, the Nephilim, all of that, the fallen angels, and that was that's all it took for the Seventh-day Adventist Church to be like, yeah, no, that's going to be a real problem. You're going to have to not talk about that stuff anymore. And so I left.
So, what do you think of Enoch 1?
Oh, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I mean, I don't think you really want to get into that right now, what I think of it in total, but it is very well written so that it adds a lot of depth to the Old Testament, and it could potentially explain away some of the questionable parts.
I like Enoch 1. There's I was really surprised when I found out that the Eastern Orthodox Bible has like 81 books. 81.
When you read Enoch, what did you think about Azazel,
Azazel?
the scapegoat, and
Yeah.
how the rituals later on treated the scapegoat, the Jewish rituals? When I guess it's Yom Kippur, when they put the blame? Yeah, Day of Atonement. They put the blame
Yeah.
on the scapegoat, and
I
they call it
believe-
Azazel.
Yes. I believe God believes in giving everybody what they deserve.
I get that, but my question is about why is Azazel, a very seldom heard name, the scapegoat? Because you find Azazel in the book of Enoch with a little more description, but with the Jewish practices, it just mentions the name Azazel as the scapegoat and does not explain who Azazel is. But it's weird that he's the scapegoat at all.
Yeah, I think he's pointing out that the devil is going to get his due. The devil is going to. He's doing his job. Let's just say that. He's doing his job. He's presenting people an alternate figure to follow. And there's going to be a certain amount of people that choose to follow him. That's their own choice.
Yeah, but Jesus is the scapegoat. Jesus is the sacrificial lamb. Now, he's not turned out into the wilderness or anything, but in this case, in the case of his ritual, all of the sins were put on him. rather than being cast onto a scapegoat, unless you're saying that the scapegoat is Satan, and that the sins will at some point be all placed on Satan.
I don't know. I don't see how that's going to affect anything. I don't think that that's going to happen. No.
Well, I know that we've talked before, and you mentioned that the practices in the tabernacle were shadows of things to happen in the future, like of the things that happen in the heavenlies. And so
Well,
the scapegoat aspect can't be just ignored and treated as arbitrary. Nothing in that ceremony is arbitrary.
no, nothing is. Yeah, I don't believe that's arbitrary at all. But God's people will follow God, and those who are not God's people are not going to follow the God. They're going to follow Satan, or the adversary, whoever that may be at the time. So I like to remind people what adversary actually means. You know, they 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 work to make us fail. They are adversarial to God, so they're going to be adversarial to God's people. But not everybody are God's people. Will, you know this? Um, Mike.
Wait, no, he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. What? I mean, how many more of his children does he own?
Well, not everybody is his children.
Well, where else would they come from?
You see, we should like. I try to pay attention to what Jesus says, and I develop my doctrine from him. But Jesus has made it very, very clear to the Pharisees when he walked among them. He says, "You don't hear me. Why don't you hear me? Because you don't hear my Father. Why don't you hear my Father? Because your father is the devil, and the works of your father you're going to do. Just like the works of his father is what Jesus does. He doesn't do the works of Satan because Satan isn't his father. He does the works of his own father. His own father, he says, I do everything that I've seen and heard him do. And that's all that he does. And that's what we're supposed to do. If we're children of God, we're supposed to be following suit in his image.
You mean keeping the laws?
Well, there you go. That's kind of
Well,
like a red
no,
herring.
hold on. No, it's not, because he's sinless. You said in the earlier parts of this conversation that he's sinless.
You see, you're not understanding the law.
No, stop. I think I do understand the law. I mean, I was a Seventh-day Adventist. The law was shoved down my throat a lot. So when you say that, hold on, just please let me finish. The sin is the transgression of God's law. Okay? It's missing the mark. And so if there's no law, there's no sin, right? Didn't Paul say that? If there's no law, there's no sin?
I'll pick it up when you're done.
Go ahead. Apparently you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Oh, I was listening to what you're saying.
No, you were waiting for your turn to say what you wanted to say, so go ahead and do it.
You can finish.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Jesus told the Pharisees something really interesting. Well, no, he didn't actually say it to them. He said it about them. And he said it to the people. Except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you ain't going to enter in. Now think about that for a minute. He said that about the most conservative religious people that have just about ever existed. These people, if you read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, you're going to find out that these people kept the law. They paid their tithes. They kept all the feasts. They did everything right down to the jot and tittle. They did all these things. And Jesus said, unless your righteousness exceeds theirs, you're not going to enter in. Jesus couldn't find fault with them in anything except for how they kept the laws. You see, there's two ways to keep those laws. You can just go down and you can walk by all the poor and you can throw your nickel in the plate. Or you can take care of the poor on your way to put your money into the plate. And you can give your kindness. You can give a healing. You can give healing to the people that you walk by in compassion, and not just to offer a prayer. You know, you can take things to people that they need, not just say, well, I see your need, I'll pray for you. No, you send them off. You send them off, and, you know, when you send them off, you're leaving it for somebody else to do. Your prayer might as well be good for nothing. You see, there's two ways to keep those laws. You can keep the letter of the law, or you can keep the spirit of the law. And that's what Jesus is talking about. The whole of the law is love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
What do we do with the other laws?
Well, all the laws hang on those two. If you keep
So we
those
have to
two
do all
laws,
of those.
if you keep those two laws, you've kept all the laws. According to Jesus, you've kept everything that's important.
But so that he did give us some stuff in the past that wasn't important.
No.
Right. So all of the laws are important.
Yeah. Do you understand what I just told you?
I did. Did Paul feel like all of the laws from the Old Testament were important and summed up in the two commandments that you just referenced?
God said if you keep those two, you've kept them all.
Does that apply to Gentiles as well?
How is that so? Well, let me ask you.
No, because I was asking you a question.
How is it true that if you've kept those two commandments, you've even kept the commandment of the Sabbath? How is that true?
I don't know if that is a way of you not answering my question and shifting the burden back to you. That's what it feels like.
No, it's my way of teaching you something, Will. It's my way of teaching you something.
Because the two commandments that he gave are broken up. One is your love towards your fellow man or your neighbor, if you're a Hebrew, and the other is your relationship with God. The first four commandments are about your relationship with God. The last six are about your relationship with your neighbor. So if you do the 10 commandments, then you're in essence keeping those two as generalities.
No, you missed my question. My question is, pay attention, Will. This is important. How is it that loving God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and loving your neighbor as yourself fulfills absolutely every law in the Bible?
But it doesn't, because love is a feeling and not an action. Actions are expressed. Feelings are expressed in action. So the actions that are prescribed to show that you love God are to keep the first four commandments. If you love your neighbor, then you won't have any problem not stealing from them, coveting from them, committing adultery upon them or their spouse. All of those things are referencing how you should react to those last six commandments and the first four. If you love both, you will do all 10. If you love both your neighbor and God, you will keep all 10 commandments, because that's what love is.
Do you think that love is going to school or going to church on Saturday?
It's not about what I think. It's about what the Bible is saying.
Is that what the Bible says?
Yes, it says, if you love me, keep my commandments.
So is he saying that loving God is going to church on Sunday or Saturday rather?
No, it doesn't mention a church. Okay, then it says to remember the Sabbath.
But yes, it does.
It says remember the Sabbath. It says remember the Sabbath to keep it holy.
The word church simply means congregation.
Fine. Which one of the commandments references a congregation?
Okay. When it tells you to bring the people together, on the Sabbath.
Which commandment is that?
You don't know?
Oh, I do know. I was a Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay.
It's the fourth commandment. It's the only one that starts with remember. Remember my Sabbath day to keep it holy. In 6 days shall you do all your work, and on the seventh day you will rest and do no work. Not your manservant, your what was it? Female servants, not your oxen, and not the foreigner in your town. If you do these commandments, your days will be long upon the land that the Lord your God has given you.
What if you do those commandments hatefully?
It has nothing to do with it. If you
There you
try,
go.
you wouldn't do the commandment if you were hateful. That's the point. Hate doesn't
How do
have
you know?
anything to, because I'm not telling you what I know. I'm telling you what the
You ever
Bible
seen hateful
says.
old religious
I'm
people?
telling you what the Bible says. It says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Now, can you find hatred in that?
Dude, I think you're way short if you're not recognizing the fact that we've got a lot of really grouchy, hateful old Christians out there.
Yes, that's because there's no
Just
power
like,
in being a
just
Christian.
like, just like there were lousy, very hateful Jews that kept that seventh day. And you see, that's what Jesus was talking about. He says, look at the same Pharisees that came up and chided Jesus, the same ones that gave their tithes of mint and gold and all of this, and the same ones that kept the Sabbath, the same ones that did all of this, are the very same ones that kicked Jesus out of the temple for healing somebody in there. They're the very same ones that called that person that was healed and kicked them out of the temple. They're the very same ones that called that man's family and kicked them out of the temple. And that's what Jesus was talking about. Except your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of all of these men that are keeping the law, you're not going to enter in either.
Oh, I agree. Fuck the law.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So there's got to be something greater to this, and that is keeping the law not by the letter of the law, but by the spirit of the law, which is love.
So God repented of the letter of the law, but embraces the spirit.
No. God used the letter of the law to show us the difference. There is a difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law.
So he didn't really want us to keep the letter of the law when he gave it to Moses.
Of course, he wants us to keep the law, but he
The
wanted
letter
us,
of the law. The
he
letter.
wanted
I
it,
said
he
the
wanted
letter.
us he wanted us to fulfill the spirit of the law, no matter how we kept the actual law.
I think
As
Jesus
long
was
as,
the one that was meant to fulfill the law, spiritually and physically.
well, Jesus did fulfill the law,
Then there's
and
nothing for
now,
us to fulfill at any point.
well, of course there is. We have to
He
love
needs our
God
help
with
to complete something.
we have to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. That
Now,
never
how does
left,
one
Will.
conjure? Okay, so how does one conjure love?
How does one conjure love? You better pray for it.
Okay, so let's say I have in the past and I still don't love Yahweh. Did
Well,
God not answer my prayer?
I guess if you're not going to let him, he won't.
I mean, I couldn't stop him from loving me. That's out of my control.
No, if you yeah, if you
If
don't
he
want,
loved me, I would know it because I'd love him back. It would be reciprocal.
oh no, I don't know if I believe that or not.
So what is the use of love if it's never
I don't
expressed?
believe that at all. Will, I think he just lied to me.
I don't think I did.
I do.
Give me an example of where he's expressed love to me that I should be able to reciprocate it back.
You're sitting here talking to me right now.
Right. I wouldn't say that that was a gift of God.
Well, I would. You don't believe life
Well,
is
I
a
appreciate it.
gift?
That's quite a compliment. Thank you.
You don't believe life is a gift?
It's a state of being.
You don't believe life is a gift from God?
No, I think it's a state of being.
Okay. Well, you don't have
I
to
don't think
believe
there's
it's
ever a
a
time
gift
that I
from
wasn't
God.
alive, Eric.
Have you ever prayed to live?
Sure.
You have.
Yeah, I was a Christian. I prayed for a lot of things.
Did you not get answers to your prayers?
You mean, am I still alive? Well, I'm still alive, but that doesn't mean that God had anything to do with it. That would be a presumption on my part.
Did you ever see a miracle in your life?
You mean something that defied the rules of reality?
Have you ever prayed for a miracle and seen it?
No.
I have.
I know you'll tell me another anecdote, and you know I won't believe you.
Well, I don't care if you believe me or not, Will.
So please spare me the anecdote
Well, why? Let me
because
ask
you
you something. Do
because
you
it's
believe? Do
totally
you believe
ineffective.
I'm a liar, or do you believe I'm insane?
I believe you're a liar.
You
Well, you put
believe
me on
I'm
the
a liar?
spot there. I think you're inclined to defend your narrative at any cost.
Mm. So you think that in order to please God, I would lie about God? How does that make any sense?
I think that you would say whatever it took to make God look good and reasonable and logical and not
You don't.
contradict
You
you.
don't. You don't think I could do that by telling the truth?
I don't think you know what the truth is. I think you tell me your interpretation of it.
You mean you think that I would have to make up stories to defend God?
I don't think you make them up. I think that they're mythologized in your own mind.
Mythologized. Mythologized.
Yes, I'll accept that you hurt your hand practicing martial arts. Whether it was shattered or not, since there was no X-ray and you're not a doctor, I would guess that you were
Well,
assuming because there was pain and it was difficult to move it, that meant
well,
automatically that it was
you see,
shattered. Hold on. And then when something happened that you did pray for, which means you got use of it again, which would happen in time if it was a sprain, you assumed that God had healed a shattered hand without ever having evidence it was shattered.
that just shows that you either didn't listen to my story or just made it into whatever you
Oh,
wanted it to be.
you went and had an X-ray done. I missed that part. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. You either did not listen to my story or you just turned it into whatever you wanted it to be.
No, I think that's what I'm accusing you of doing is mythologizing it because
Yeah, that's
it was an
exactly what
exciting
you're
thing.
doing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm accusing you of. Yes, you asked me. I'm telling you what
okay.
I think. I don't think you're lying as much
That's
as you're
cool.
mythologizing. You're accepting it to be a miracle.
That's cool. Well, let's see. Let's see what I did have. There were 6 of us there all together.
Okay, do you have
Hold on,
any X-rays
hold
to
on,
show it was shattered?
hold on. There were 6 of us there, Will Freeman. There was myself, my brother, our best friend, and our girlfriend slash wives. And we were above the bar that was owned by a bunch of friends and family called the Wagon Wheel. That's where I lived. I lived above the bar. And let me see, I lived there with my wife, and everybody else was just hanging out. And we were playing, we were into martial arts. We were playing a game. And it was a hand smashing game. And my brother and I were famous at the time for breaking people's hands. That's what we did as we played these games. I was taking a sabbatical away from the Lord because to be honest with you, Will, I was fed up with churches. I was fed up with preachers. And I was just taking a little bit of time away. And while we were playing this really vicious little game. And my brother broke my hand. In one fell swoop, boom, he broke my left hand. And how did we know that it was broken? When he hit my hand, it broke the bone, the middle bone, my middle knuckle, between the knuckle and my wrist, that bone right there. And right in the middle of the bone. It wasn't a dislocation. It was snapped right in the middle. And we were looking at the bone move. We were moving that bone underneath my skin. And they were talking about how, yeah, that we got to get you to the hospital. And I said, no, we don't. And I didn't even know why I said it. I didn't know why I did. Well, I had no idea. But I do know that I stretched my hand out, stretched out my arm. And I started trying to flex my hand. And if you know anything about a broken hand, that don't work too well.
Right, that's why I said it wasn't broken.
Yeah, I could begin to flex it and begin to flex it. I could move most of my fingers, but I couldn't move them all. I couldn't move the one. But I kept trying to flex it and trying to flex it. And after a while, I began to be able to flex it. And after just a little bit of time, I'm talking less than a minute, there was like a loud pop, a loud crack, and my fingers snapped back together. We had been moving. We could see all four ends of that bone. Now all of a sudden it knits back together, pop, pop. And as it wasn't just broken, but it was black, blue, yellow, and it was just about every color you could imagine. And it was almost tripled the size that it should be in swelling. It just that fast. But as I kept, after that popped back into place, I started putting stuff into that flex, and that the swelling and the bruise just melted away right in front of our eyes, in front of my brother, our best friend, our girls / wives. And God spoke to me at that point. That was one of 2 times that I've heard the voice of God. And God spoke to me, and he says, if you don't give me the glory for this, you're going to die. And it was right about that time that Satan pops his little head in and tries to make me lose what God had just given me in the form of my brother. My brother looked at me because he had all kinds of knee problems that he couldn't get over. And he says, Eric, can you heal me? Can you heal my knees? I mean, everybody was flabbergasted. Can you imagine seeing that? I don't know if you can. But every one of us did. Every one of us was flabbergasted. And I told him, Brian, what you saw, that had nothing to do with me. That was God. And, well, God let us know that I was right. That was him. And I told these guys, I said, guys, I'm going to have to pray. You guys are going to have to go home for a little bit. And I did go to pray. And the people from downstairs did come up, even though it was mid-afternoon. They did come up to see what the heck was going on. But the place wasn't torn up. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But God did that. And then after everybody left, I prayed. I said, God, you've got my attention. You've got my attention. I am so sorry, but I don't know what to do. I don't have anybody to take me under their wing. I don't have anybody to teach me these things. God, if you will teach me your book, I will serve you. And I meant that. And from that time on, God has been teaching me his book. And I thank him for that. But let's fast forward about 2 weeks later. The wife and I are on our way to Hollywood, California. Hitchhiking, guys. To Hollywood, California. And we get to Shreveport, Louisiana. We get picked up by a trucker. Carries us across Texas. And he pulls a gun on us. And my wife starts freaking out. He lets us know exactly what he's wanting to do at this point. He's going to kill me while I'm watching him rape my wife. And that's exactly what he said he was going to do. So my wife starts freaking out. And me, I didn't freak out at all. All of a sudden, I knew this was what God was talking about. I just knew it. This was the place that I was going to die if I had told my brother that I did that through my power. If I had taken the glory for that, this would have been the place where I died. But I looked at that dude, Will Freeman, with an attitude that you probably wouldn't believe, and that's okay. Because I know God told me the truth. I know he did. I told my wife, he's not going to hurt you. He can't lay a finger on you. And we're not going to stop him. God's going to stop him. And he started getting angry because he couldn't make her afraid anymore. And I wouldn't let her get afraid anymore. I kept telling her, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. God's going to get us out of this. And it wasn't long after that. She says, I've got to pee. She tells this dude, I've got to pee. He says, well, you ain't getting out of this truck. She says, well, you're going to let me out or you're going to have my DNA all over it. So it's about 11 o'clock at night. And he pulls over. And he makes her get out on his side. And walks her around the front of the cab while he's trying to keep an eye on me sitting in the passenger seat there. And he makes me open my door. So I opened my door and I watched him, and I could tell when she had lowered her pants and stooped down between the truck and the trailer. And as he was trying to keep an eye on both of us, he swung up towards me and he says, don't you even think about it. And I started kind of laughing because it was kind of funny to me. I said, dude, I don't have to think about anything. I told you, I'm not going to lift a finger to stop you. God's going to stop you. And that was the point, Will, right there, boom. That was the point when God struck. God or an angel or something, I don't know who struck. I don't know what struck. But I do know what happened. I do know what I saw. I do know what my wife saw. He started to say something. But right in the middle of moving, taking a step, raising his arm, and where the gun was held, by the way, and starting to say something, he just stopped. He just stood still in the middle of all of that. He just stood still. And he didn't make another move. He didn't bat an eye, Will Freeman. Not an eye. And that's okay. Did I try to run? No. Did I try to get away? No. Why did I not try to get away? Because frankly, I was just too into watching God perform. I was too busy watching God do whatever God was doing, or this angel, whatever did it, whatever froze him in the spot. I was watching some kind of divinity at work here. And then all of a sudden, I don't know how long it must have been, but it was a decent little while. He started shaking his head and batting his eyes, and he's looking around, and he said, where'd she go? Where'd she go? And he told me, get out of the truck and find her. And I just had to laugh at that one, too. I got out of his truck, and he started grabbing my stuff and handing it down to me, saying, I wasn't really going to do anything. I was just playing. I was just, I really didn't feel like hearing all that. But I let him go on. And he started walking around back to the front of the truck. And I followed him. And I just told him what the Lord had told me, that if he didn't give God glory for this, that God was going to kill him. And I don't know if I should have told him that or not, but I did. And that really happened, Will Freeman. Our police report was taken at Tahlequah, Texas. Oh, excuse me, not Tahlequah. Gosh, what's the name of that little town? Tahlequah is the...
Okay, Eric, if it's all right for me to respond, I mean, just because you made a police report doesn't establish any of the miraculous stuff you talked about. And it's a great story. But can I speak to any of these witnesses? If they passed on, are they still with us? Because it's still just your word with nothing to back it up, man.
Well, yeah, they've been around for a good while. Let me see, 4 of them is dead now. 4 of them's dead, but yeah, one's still around.
You think you could get like a video testimony to all those facts?
Dude, I don't know if I could or not. I don't even know where to find this one brother that left now.
I mean, it could shut my mouth.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to shut your mouth. You can call me a liar.
I didn't call you a liar. I didn't call you a liar, did I?
No, but you can. Or you can tell people that I'm insane.
I didn't say that either. I said that you mythologize things.
Well, you know, if
There's
I
some
do,
truth in what you said. I believe that there's some truth to the story, and then there's your perception of it. And I only have your side of it.
well, all 6 of us gave our hearts to the Lord that day. I was renewed, and all 6 of us gave our hearts to the Lord that day. All 6 of us. My current wife has met some of these people. She knows it's true. So yeah,
No, she hold on. She's met some of those people. And
yeah.
so therefore that equals she knows that your story is true exactly the way you say it.
Well, yeah, she knows it's true. She knows I wouldn't lie to her for one thing. She knows they wouldn't lie to her for another. And she knows that God is true above all. She's a Christian, dude. She loves God with all her heart.
And
She's another one.
I'm not bringing her faith into it. I was just talking
she's
about the reliability and the provability of the claims you're making.
well, you see, that's what Christ is built on. That's what our church is built on.
Plausible deniability is what the church is built on?
No, it's built on 500 people saying this is what we saw.
Right. Which 500 people were interviewed? I mean, what part of the Bible do they give their testimony? I mean, there's a testimony that 500 people witnessed it, but there's not a single writing from any of those 500 that they did or even existed.
Man, so many people know so little about this. Why do you even argue?
Are you claiming to know the 500 people that saw the resurrection?
Look, there were people that were resurrected the day Christ was resurrected, and they walked into Jerusalem with him.
Okay, did we interview any of them?
Hold on.
Are there any eyewitness testimonies to that?
Hold on. There's a lot of eyewitness testimonies to every bit of this.
Please cite them.
Look, dude, you can.
I mean, I'd like to be convinced. Do you not want me to be convinced, Eric?
I don't think you want to be. That's why you keep interrupting. I think you're playing a good game right now, and that's all you're doing.
I mean, if that's how you feel about it, I can say the same to you.
Well, you could, but it wouldn't.
It's the shell game. You want me to believe that you want me to trust everything you tell me is gospel, but I have no reason to think that you know what you're talking about.
Well, you don't have to.
I don't. Thank you.
Okay, so then why would we waste our time with it then?
You invited atheists and agnostics to come in and talk because you wanted to find out why we don't believe. And I've gotten lots of reasons why you do believe, but I haven't got a single scrap of evidence that would be convincing for me to believe.
Well, then you have to either believe that I'm crazy or a liar. So that's cool.
No, it's not a dichotomy like that. I said you mythologize. It's not the same as lying.
Well, of course it is.
It's not the same as being crazy either. No, it's not. You perceive it that way. That doesn't mean that it actually happened that way.
Well, I'm either telling you the truth or I'm lying to you.
Or you might think that you're telling me the truth, and some of what you're saying is true, but others you perceived and have further convinced yourself over time that it really happened the way you remember it.
So you don't think that I'm sitting here knowing whether or not this is the truth?
I don't. I think that you're happy to not question your original diagnosis of what happened.
Can you do yourself that way?
That's why I'm not a Christian anymore. Yes.
Maybe that's what you're doing right now. Maybe you're lying to yourself now.
I mean, sure. What am I lying to myself about?
That there is no God, that the Christian God is a lie.
I never said there is no God. I said that Yahweh, I don't believe in him, and there's no evidence for me to believe in him.
What God do you believe in?
Not one that would have a name. Deities the deities that are source deities, there was no one around to name them. They don't have names because there would be no reason to call upon them if they were the only thing.
What now?
Original gods or deities wouldn't have names because there wouldn't be anyone to name them. And there would be no one to call upon them since they are the only source being.
So do you believe a God exists?
Unless if God told them his name after he created them.
Mhm.
Yes, if that happens, then one might know their name.
Mhm. And why would a God do that? Well,
For the same reason that anyone gives a name, is to introduce themselves. But if he had a name, it would be a descriptive name.
What do you mean by descriptive since you're making that claim?
Well, it would be in the way that, and I'm not saying that the story is true, but a descriptive name is like when Moses asked what God, who do I say sent me? And he says, I am that I am. It's not a name per se, it's a description of what he is.
Well, there's been so many lost transcripts, but that's a big controversy too. I mean, the one I know it by, the father anyways, you had Hey Bob Hey.
All right, so when it comes to the old Israelites, they were not always monotheists. There, at one point in time, there was a pantheon underneath El Elyon, Most High, and one of his sons was Yahweh. And Yahweh received an inheritance in Deuteronomy of Israel as his inheritance. So in the past, the Jews have confused over and over again because of their tribal reunifications that Yahweh and El. You're laughing, but I haven't finished what I was saying. You can
Well,
argue
I don't know
with
where
it
you're
once
getting
you
these
hear it.
sources. I don't know where you're getting these sources from.
It's
I've
in your
studied
Bible in
this.
Deuteronomy that Israel is Yahweh's inheritance from El Elyon. He is one of the 70 sons of the God Most High.
Deuteronomy.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Yeah, I know what he's talking about there. It's talking about Yud Hey Vav Hey, and really,
Yeah, I
it's
just want
like
to
when
say.
my Jewish counterparts say that, hey, God is only the Father. It's only that's what Echad is, and I'm like, no. Another definition of it out of many is Echad means one in unity, semicolon, not in number. So I'm not sure you're getting all the information there, or if you're just picking and choosing. I really don't know what you're doing.
Sounds like picking and choosing to me.
But
Yes, let's
Because
assume dishonesty on my part, Eric. That's a good idea.
well, or you
Wow,
don't
you're assuming
understand.
it. You're assuming it on Eric's part. I mean, what's the problem here?
Does the name El Elyon appear in the Old Testament?
It does.
And what
Yeah.
does it mean?
I don't know what definition you're using. That's the problem. I don't know
El
what it means
Elyon
to
is
you.
God Most High or Most High God.
Yeah. Yes, that's the one that I'm looking at. Or I'm not reading it. I just know that. But I mean, what is your point? That's Yud Hey Vav Hey, the Father.
No. See, that's what I'm arguing with. I'm saying that Yahweh is a son of El Elyon.
No. If you're talking Yeshua, that's one thing, but no, not Yud Hey Vav Hey himself.
Yahweh is the name of the Father and the Son.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Well, you can go that way too, and the Son got a lot of those titles too.
Mm-hmm.
Emmanuel being
But
one of
Will doesn't know that.
No, I know that, but I mean,
Okay, so Will doesn't know some.
you got to
things.
understand too. You need to be careful with where you're getting that information, and it could be purposely misleading you. My Jewish counterparts love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing to do with the Jews. I don't like them.
Well, I'm sure you don't. I don't know where you're getting it, or for that matter, you have a lot of nonsensical BS going on too with the Christians now and the scholars and their degrees where they're getting their information with systematic theology and all that too. I mean, they're just as guilty, to be honest. The only reason why I point out my Jewish counterparts, really, there were Hebrews before that, but I'm not going to get into that. Just my Jewish counterparts is they're just as guilty as they are because they think the church has replaced them and whatever, and they've got their own issues. And so really, you got to be very careful about where you get that kind of stuff. And I don't know where you're getting all that from.
Yeah. If you really read Will, and I'm not trying to talk down at you at all, but if you read all of this stuff, what you're going to find out is that look up Genesis with Strong's Concordance, KJV and Strong's Concordance. Look up Genesis where God is talking to Abraham with two angels. They're talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. They bargain together. And then you see them walking to Sodom. You see one of them, one Yahweh, standing outside of Sodom. And if you pull this up with Strong's Concordance and look at the words, break them down, you're going to find out that that's Yahweh down there on earth, calling up to Yahweh in heaven to send fire down and destroy the cities and the plains. And that's exactly where the fire comes from. And it's being called down from the fire, Yahweh on the ground.
So there's two gods.
No. You know we don't believe that. Why do you say that?
No, you just described two gods.
No, we didn't. And we were very clear. They are one God. So why do you keep doing this?
Well, I'm not going to do anything right now because I got to get back to work.
I just anyway. Oh well. I appreciate you, Levi.
Yeah. I didn't get involved. I mean, I could have gotten involved more than I wanted to, but in fact, I didn't even want to do this much, Eric. I thought you were doing a pretty good job. I just, it's the same old typical arguments.
Yeah,
I could give evidence on how the Bible makes sense on a logical level with critical thinking, like he liked to claim, a critical thinker. And I could give the medical part. We could go to Genesis 17. I could give the historical and the geographical part. And on and on. And if somebody doesn't want to be convinced, then, well, okay. I just shake the dust off my feet and take my piece with me.
Yep. I was trying to keep it from becoming adversarial.
Well, you do a lot better than I do. I don't know about that anymore. Well,
No, you're
you do
pretty
better
good.
than I do with patience. I just see now when I do it live streaming a little bit, I have to put it this way. I can't bring anybody up yet. I can only go YouTube. I can't even get StreamYard for free for 20 hours anymore every month. But unless I'm not doing something right. But anyway, if I see any, I don't mind people. I think I gained a subber for a few minutes the other night and then lost it. And the reason why is because, and there comes Ace with his passive aggressiveness again. Anyway, when I looked at what happened was I was on a specific subject and he was typing in bizarre things for just, you know how people are online. And, and I was ignoring it for the most part. And then I finally told him, look, I might look, I don't even remember what it was about because I just put it out of my mind purposely. But I said, look, maybe I'll look into that for another live stream or upload or something. And he tried to order me, you need to change the subject. And I looked right in the screen and I said, no.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I didn't. I went from one sub up to what I had back to, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever works, man.
Amen.
I mean, I'm sure I'd love to have a real way viral channel and 1 million subbers, but I'll tell you what, it's not a matter of my salvation. So,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you told me I couldn't believe that. I can. I believe you're not a liar. I don't think you are. It's just when you said that one night, a month ago or so.
Yeah.
You lost over 300 subbers on this channel. I was flabbergasted, man.
Yes, I did, brother. I did. All because I told one brother, and this is exactly what I've told him. Brother, you got to learn how to forgive. Yeah.
Well, if I lose that, I'll go from 523 down to 223 or whatever it is I'm at. I'm like, wow. Huh. But, that's life. I feel like getting the information out that I'm doing. I believe I'm being led by the Ruach, as we say, and my wife really presses it. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway, all I'm trying to do is get it out, and if it helps somebody, great. Or if, like Jeremiah, whom we call Yirmiyahu,
Yeah.
if I don't get through to anybody, because I don't think he really got through to, but if he did, the 52 chapters sure don't really indicate it much at all. But if I don't, I don't. At least the blood is not on my head anymore. So,
Amen, brother.
and if I lose all those summers, YouTube shuts me down. So be it. I'd be kind of cool with that, to be honest. I'd be a little upset, I suppose, for a few minutes, but it's like, wow, I just get to watch YouTube and criticize everybody else. Sounds like fun. On a sarcastic level, but
Hey,
yeah, I love it when people try to do that to me. Levite or Bear Sheath Farm, you need to do this subject right now. It's like, dude, or dudette, make your own channel, you know, on a
Amen.
practical level here.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think about it, it was years ago now too, and I did a video on something on my old homestead down in Florida, and somebody gave me all this advice on how to run this channel, on how to run my channel at the time, and I'm like, nope. And he kept coming back, and I kept blocking him on every account. He finally called it quits. I couldn't believe that. I guess my solution to somebody is if I can't stand their channel that much, unsub or don't sub in the first place. You know, when you're checking it out, and just don't bother them.
Yeah.
Just leave them be. You know. But Ace Theo, as your cult leader, I command you to subscribe to my channel.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Glad we have that settled.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
If you do see it tonight, Eric, make sure to type in so I can. I don't think I made you a wrench yet.
Okay.
So I was so concentrating on one time, I think, when you greeted me that I just didn't even think about it. So anyway, when's Tim going to be back on? Is he still mourning, or what's going on with him?
Yeah, he called earlier tonight and said that he wouldn't be able to be on tonight.
Okay.
That's okay. But he's going to be back. He
Okay.
just needs a little time.
I don't blame him there. I mean, you look at the Torah, it took at least 30 days, if not longer. I think, for Joseph, some of them took up to 70 days. Not that that's very feasible right now. It's not, but I get it. People need their time. I still haven't taken real time. I could have, but I just haven't. I haven't taken time to mourn my parents who raised me yet. I'm still struggling with that.
I'm very sorry to hear that, brother. When did they pass?
Dad, my adopted parents' dad died on a Tuesday in Minnesota there. I was there to take care of him at home with Mom. He died on a Tuesday, May 16th of 2017. Mom died on a Wednesday right at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. January 31st of 2024.
Oh, God bless her heart.
So it's been over a couple of years even for her now.
I'm very sorry for your loss, brother.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've lost my mother, my father, my grandparents. My mom and my grandfather were two of the godliest examples I ever had. I was very blessed to have them both.
Well, from the sounds of it, you'll be able to go back to them and see them one day.
Amen, my friend.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I remember when my Oh, go ahead. Finish.
I'm just looking forward to a great reunion one day, brother.
Yeah, you and me both. I mean, my grandfather Got on a Sunday, March 1st of 1987. No, I was barely 18. I was, I'm pretty sure I'll see him. He was a Bible reader and, you know, pretty faithful.
Amen. And I see Goodwit is with us too. She's a sweet person. Treats everybody good. That's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, brother, I hate to do this, but it's been about going on 3 hours now.
Yeah, I need to get some, make sure I have my information correct and get some things in order. So, anyway, I'll try to get on somewhat soon here and get the info out. If people need to go to bed, I'm cool. Yeah, I fully understand. So,
Would you like to take a minute to leave us with a few words and pray us out of here?
yeah, sure. I'm glad. I have to give you props up. You're really understanding. You're caring. You're closer to the agape love than I am. I appreciate your channel and that. And I'm grateful I'm able to have a place to come to. So, with that, I'll close with prayer. Yeah, that's what you want me to do, right?
Sure.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we praise you and we thank you for a good day today and being able to get the tasks done that we have. But I ask that you continue to bless us and protect us. And please continue to remind us to help us to give you all the credit and the glory, to stay humble. And help us to learn more, to learn to be more like you in your image. And portray you, really have you coming out through us. So people see it, know, and understand. And I pray this in Yeshua, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And let me thank you, Levi. God bless you, my brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
All right.
And let me thank Ace and Goodwit, and I want to thank a special thank you to Will for sitting up here and talking. It may not have been the straightforward discussion I was hoping for, but maybe in time we can have that one. And thank you, and at any rate, God bless everybody here. We love you.
All right, guys, I'm out of here.
Have a good night, everybody.